Alright, Affliction 2. My arm's a little bit less tired, so I'm gonna make a new video going over some steps. Two things I've noticed people doing today. One, making it too tall. Two, not making it wide enough. And I can't stress enough the importance of both, because symmetry, just like with polymorph, if you make it like too short, it's not gonna work. Well, that's not the point. I made it taller, which is fine. I mean, it has to be proportional, right? But typically, polymorph, as an example, we're getting some bad lag spikes still. I wish I wasn't having those. There's a certain symmetry to it. Point being, Affliction has the exact same thing. So, you need to be able to cast a fireball that does not work. So, for example, that's gonna work, right? That's gonna work. That's not gonna work. Might even, yeah, actually, if you get pushback, perfect. Because it's basically pushback with the way the pushback works, right? So it's just recognizing this part, but with a line. I don't know if I'm able to get that to work. Okay, well, fireball. Point being, you need to come out wide, and in fact, I find that helps describe this P as less of a P and more of like a stick with a circle coming out of it. Like, it's gonna be a P, like a line turning into a circle. You're gonna strike below the halfway point, somewhere here. So circle into that, come out, come sharp right down. So like, I'll just draw one as an example. At least this angle, I suppose, right? You can go all the way left, or you can stop in the middle. I like to call this like a cashew shape, but if you go left, it looks, I don't know, or like sunglasses, almost, like aviators that like fill in on the top. But too tall there. It really, make your spell short. I can't stress enough, make your spell short. It's small, it's not a tall spell. You should feel like you're making it too short. You should feel like you're making it too wide, possibly. Because I see a lot of people doing taller spells like this. They're thinking like a fireball. That's not the way. In fact, it's like half a fireball almost. Like, I know, again, everything scales, but this is just an easy way to get it, because it's very small. You keep it all in like one area. It's super manageable. You can draw bigger, right? It doesn't really matter. And it's going to depend on the rotation of your arm, right? Like, everyone's arm is different, so find what's comfortable for you. So again, going back to the spell, straight line, into circle, below half point, like below halfway, like this. And when you do this, I mean really feel the circle. Like, come out, make a circle. Come out, make a circle. I know it's not circular, right? Or it's not a circle, but you're gonna come out far to the look how wide this is. Look how short this is. Does this look like a pea frost to you? No, it is different. It is lower, it is wider. So do this. Wide, like literally go out there. I'm not even kidding, I'm gonna stress it again. Wide, go wide. I also make it shorter, sorry, that would make it too tall. Wide. Bad example, I'm casting down. Also, there's kind of like a sweet spot. Like, I am worst at casting up and down personally. I have to cast like looking forward. I can cast down here, it's harder for me than it is to like cast up in front of me. You can also use your armrest if you wanted. I bet I could get away with it. Using your armrest has advantages and disadvantages. For this spell, it's mostly disadvantages for me, so I don't recommend that. But I just cast it right in front of me. And again, wide. It's almost as if, like, imagine you already had your outer circle that you're gonna draw, and then you're gonna like go out and grab the side of it. That's basically, this whole spell is all like one size almost. Do you see how this circle basically is almost perfectly the shape of the R? That's kind of what you're going for, but not a big circle, it's a small circle. Okay, anyways, going back to the beginning. Small Don't make it too tall. There is kind of a minimum height you do want. You don't want to make it, I know I just said make it small, but play with the height. Basically move it down, move it up, move it down. Keep adjusting that. And honestly, keep adjusting the width if you need to. But honestly, if I say go wide and you go really wide, and again, you should be able to make a fireball basically that's going to fail a lot. You should have a fireball that fails because it's too short and too wide to be a fireball. That's kind of what you're going for. See? Same shape. A fireball that won't work. That's what you're going for. So make that. And then now we're going to go back to it. Make the leg. I find that I go left, right, here in the middle, you know, from here. But then I have like a downward force. You can see this downward force here I apply to it. It's not just straight out to the right. You're going to be going out. And then once you're about here, you're going to go down hard as well. You get to the bottom, hard left. And you can see I actually touched the bottom of this spell. You don't have to. I find this works very well. But basically when you get down to, you apply that downward force, you get to the bottom right, you're going to apply, this is all curved by the way, and I'll explain this in a second. In fact, I'll do it right now, why not? So ignore the bottom part. After you come into the middle and you do this, you're basically drawing a backwards C. Kind of what you're doing. See how, but like with a flat bottom, mostly flat bottom. It is curved, that is important. The whole thing is curved. So it's a backwards C. See, if that makes sense to you. Hopefully it does. And then that C in turn turns into the rest of your circle. So this is what you're drawing for the last part. I'm drawing downwards again too. So again, mostly round. You can even do an inner circle if you want. I find that the extra step, the extra momentum, like throws off my spell. So I like to just draw kind of like the minimum, which is a line and not an inner circle. So again, short, failing B. Round, it's a stick, round circle, reverse C, curve around. This whole outer circle should feel circular. If you're coming out this far to the left, fizzle. Out to the left again, out to the bottom left, fizzle. Well, okay. Okay, you can get away with a lot. And I'm doing everything else right, so it's going to be pretty forgiving. And that is the beauty of the spell, is that it's forgiving. But what I'm trying to do is tell you what the best things that I found to do most consistent. So that means, yes, can you get away with this? Probably. Okay, not that time. See what I mean? Not going to get away with it every time. If you make your outer circle huge like this, it's going to work under certain conditions. In fact, I think maybe if I make it tall, is that what's happening? Tall and slant and then sharp sides. Yeah, that seems to be what you can do. If you make it too tall, you can make the outer shell taller and lower and straight on the sides, and that will give you more leeway there. But I don't think you should do that. You should do what I'm doing, because trust me, it's really easy. Once you get used to it. I mean, it is easier than 8-ball. I just taught someone who's never casted Affliction, and yesterday I caught 2 people who never casted Affliction, and they can all cast it, like, normally. So, it's good. Trust me, it's easy. Here's my 8-balls. Not to saying that, like, someone couldn't. Fail. And also the speed of it. I mean, of course, I could speed it up, but then I'd be worse. And I'm not, like, necessarily super trying here with the 8-ball. And also, I'm doing the proportions kind of correctly. But this doesn't look as good as, like... Oh, hold on. As that. If I stop casting down. So that's the difference for me. Some people may be great with the 8-ball and they love it and they can stick with it. If they were casting, like, I'd say if you're already casting like 5 Afflictions consistently and it's easy, it's not straining on you to do 5 Afflictions in the air, even maybe 4. And again, keyword not straining, and you're not fizzling at all, and it's pretty fast. you can stick with that. But for everybody else, I totally suggest switching to this and just figuring it out. It's going to take some work because literally there's like only a handful of people who know how to do it. There's a lot less support. Less people know how to do it. So I'm trying to make videos to explain this. So anyways, going back to it. Remember, short height, but it's all proportional, it's all relative, but I'm just trying to show kind of for this size. And if you're wondering how big this is, you guys don't have this wand, but all wands are the same length, I'm pretty sure. So it's like, what is that, 35% of a wand? Like this would be half, I don't know, let's say 40, it's like 35 to 40% of the wand. And that's for the, and now I'm gonna measure the inside of the P, not the outer circle. What is that? I mean, I could do health, here's the health bar, actually. Let's do that. 1 health bar tall, okay? What is this? 60% of a health bar, 65% of a health bar. And with the circle, the outer circle included, it's gonna make it longer, about like 80% of a health bar. And this is like 1 health bar. So as you can see, my spell is slightly taller than it is wide, even with the outer circle. That is important. But again, you make it too tall, and I'll show you what happens actually. If you make it too tall, fireball. Here's why. You're doing essentially a paperclip with a fireball inside. That's what's happening when you do that. You can get away with it. I'm not saying you should though, because what you're trying to do is that right now with this shortcut, what's happening is you've got your fireball and you've got your affliction 2 competing against each other. What you're trying to do is make the fireball less, like, you're trying to add emphasis that makes this affliction more viable and the fireball less viable, so that the affliction 2 wins the algorithm basically, because it's, you submit your spell and you want the right spell to come out. So what can you do to make it more like affliction, less like fireball? Well, shorter and wider is a big thing here, because fireball, as you see, does not cast when you make it really stupid like that. But you know what does? Affliction. Because affliction has like this kind of like really wide top, and it hits below the middle for where the legs connect. If I draw that nicer. Oh boy. Who draws affliction one these days? There you go. I didn't make it wide enough. Jeez. Okay. Okay, well, this is awful. You know, it's funny that I'm probably better at doing Affliction 1 like this. Yeah. Than I am doing the actual Affliction 1. But that's another example. Doing Affliction 1 like this can kind of showcase what I'm talking about here with the wide top. But again, and of course, right, like here it's bigger. I'm drawing it bigger, but what am I doing? Everything is scaled relative to each other. And until you can try doing it bigger, but what I'm just seeing is that people are doing taller spells, and that's what you don't want. You don't want fireball. You want it to be too wide. You don't want, like, look, that fireball didn't work, right? Oh, this one will. This one might. Okay. That one probably will. Also, hitting below center. Why? Because fireball strikes center. So of course you're gonna get fireball. You go below center. Oh, well. You're gonna get lucky sometimes. Yes, you can do that too. I don't suggest that one. That's part of what, that's basically our cast. It's, yeah. You know, honestly though, if you could do this every time, it would be better. If you could do plain R-cast, or R-cast with like a returning leg every time, you absolutely should do that. But no one has been able to do that except for one person, and it was not me, even though I got pretty good at it. This circle on the outside makes it much sloppier, so I totally suggest this because you can be way less precise with it, basically. You just need to do the few steps correctly, and everything else will fall into place. And there's a guy who said he tried and tried and tried, watched the video 20 times, couldn't do it. So here I am trying to explain the steps that got him to cast it, as well as other people. Alright, so one last time again. Stick, circle, left, right, or you can lift and make us like an inner circle if you wanted. It doesn't really matter. You don't need to freak out if you don't get it right. But wide circle. Short stick, wide circle. Okay? And then down right with the leg. And this whole thing, again, it's like, it feels like a C, kind of. Drawing like a C. So you're drawing like a straight line, a circle, a reverse C, and an outer shell. That's round. So that's it. And then when you do all of those things combined, literally you can cast the spell without even trying, like I'm doing here. And at this speed, this is probably like 5 afflictions at this speed. You can crank it up, but as you crank it up, you're gonna have to be like, because you gotta do these specific steps, and you don't need to be that fast. It's just this spell is really consistent. That's kind of how it started. It wasn't never intended to be a speed casting spell, but turns out if it's really easy to cast, it's really fast. So it can be speed casting, but when you do it speed casting, just like any other thing with like decasting or whatever, you kind of have to make sure you do all the steps right quickly in like a short amount of time. So it's the same concept, and the best thing to do to cast quickly is to cast slow. Ironically, only cast what you can do. Don't cast faster than what you're capable of, because then you'll just blow it up. So this right here, very comfortable speed for me. Didn't hit low enough. And again, as long as the circle is kind of right, like the outer circle, for the last part, that's probably the hardest part to make sure you don't mess up. It's easy enough to make the top wide and hit below center, but then you kind of have to make sure that you come out to the right enough and sharply down, and then sharp left on the bottom, and then rise up quickly. Like, I mentioned this before, but with Affliction, you've got like 4 corners, basically. Let me draw them smaller. 4 corners to consider. This one is special. They are always round. Everywhere you go here, it's going to be rounded, slightly curved, but the sides are more straight. This is going to pop because I drew 5 shapes. They're more straight on the sides, but they're still curved, so they're kind of like this. But then when you get to these corners, you need to turn much more sharply, basically. You don't really need to think about it too much. I don't, because the beauty is that if you're tracing, basically, if you do the size correct of the spell, then when I'm essentially, all I'm doing in my brain is trying to trace the spell roughly while forming a circle. So I'm using the same size as my spell, my P that I start out with, or my R. I'm starting with that, and then I'm keeping a circle in mind. So all I'm doing is following this AC like really flat, mostly flat. But then I get to the corner, I start curving harder. I get like flatter. I hit another corner, I start curving more. This is curving pretty consistently, and of course the top right corner is a little different in that when I'm drawing it and I draw it like this big, I don't really think about it too much, because again, if you do the top part of the P right, like out wide, when you're tracing it, you're basically going to automatically introduce the angle that you need. But what happens if you make, like, for example, like, see how this will fail? But what happens if I go out wider? See, it works. You can actually do a thinner top as long as you come out to the right. Although it will hurt you as well. Hold on, striking lower. You have to just make the angle yourself. If you draw a wide top, not only is that going to help you in a number of ways, it's going to also make, when you trace the spell, automatically make your far right hook come out enough length as much as you need it to already to do. There's no thought required to it. You're already doing it. It's already done. You're just following it and then coming down. So making the top wide is really important, not just because of the spell itself, because you have to think of the envelope with the circle in it, and you're making, like, this is basically the top part. But when you're doing that, you're also guiding your outer circle too tall. See, I knew it was too tall already. It's a short spell. It's like a little stubby midget. It's okay. Sorry if there's any midget. Oh god. Okay. Cut this part. This didn't happen. Actually, I'm gonna upload this video raw. So, but anyways, point being, it's a short spell, man. I don't know how to tell you, other than I'm emphasizing it to you like 20 times right now. Short, wide, short, wide, short, wide. Most people are doing something like this big, and again, you can do this, but then they're like not making it wide enough. They're like doing something like this, and again, you can do it, but you're probably gonna get fizzles, and you're probably gonna get fireballs more often than not, because what you're doing is paperclip with fireball in it. And what you're trying to not do is paperclip a fireball in it. What you're trying to do is a wide circle. Like, this is the circle, and this is the wide B inside of it. Yeah, it's harder to pull off in two. It's more of a specific spell than like a fireball. Fireball is super forgiving. I mean, this spell is too, but yeah, my arm is a little less tired. So, again, right, one more time, last time, and then I'm done. Wide. Oh, okay, first of all, too tall. Way too tall. You need, like, this height. Okay, not this. Short. Let's do that first. Short, circle, wide circle. In, out, reverse C. See the reverse C? Reverse C coming out. Reverse C. Follow it. Follow the shape of your spell while curving continuously. You're not going to literally trace your spell, okay? You're not going to do this. Don't do this. Don't literally trace it. You could actually do this, but like that, if you came out to the right again. But in general, you have, in order to trace your spell exactly, you have to make the P like perfect, or the R, and then you can literally trace your spell and it will actually work. That's, again, part of why this is so consistent, because you're doubling down on key components of the Affliction spell. That's a huge part of it. You can cast Affliction with just an R. Ugh. Although, okay, Affliction 1. There we go. Hey, I got it. I'm gonna stop there. But you can do it. What else are you doubling down on? You're doubling down on B with Affliction. You're doubling down on R with Affliction. Or R with Circle, sorry. B with Circle, R with Circle. Although, of course, I have like tendencies now to draw my R a certain way, but people used to do it differently. It's actually quite similar to 8-ball, although I'm not going to go into detail. And it's also similar to shortcuts like that. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and this thing combines all of it. So, that was my computer, by the way, not yours, and my Discord. That's what the shortcut is. It's all of those things in one, and that's why it works almost basically every time, because you can make mistakes and something else is going to catch it, because you are doubling down with the R and with the outer circle. Everything here is doubled down. The other thing to note here, I guess, is see how I'm coming inside the spell? So again, down right. I taught one of the people before, and yeah, I'm not going to go detail, but basically you come out down to the right, see this angle. It's like, what is that? That's probably not 45 degrees, but it's pretty sharply down. Come down again. It's like I know this doesn't look as reverse C-ish, but it is. You come around, basically straight left. You want to close off the bottom, and then you can either ride inside the spell, or you can go outside a little bit. What matters is that you maintain that circular motion. Don't lose the curve, and don't balloon out towards, like, too far down to the left, or too far down to the top left, or like don't go too far above, too far down. Again, you'll get away with it sometimes, but it's not the optimal shape to go for. If your spell should be tight, look how condensed everything that I draw is. Everything is overlapping. You want overlap. That's good. Okay, so overlap the crap out of your spell. Spike. If you're not overlapping, you're not gaining the benefits of this shortcut. I'm drawing down again. Bad tendency when my arm is tired. I mean, you can see I'm getting away with some stupid stuff. You do have to form that right leg. That's important because, again, with, think about the polymorph part of Affliction, the right leg is essentially this part. Then when you come around and do the sharp left, you're forming the bottom of the envelope. And then when you do the circle and you come around, you're forming not just this part, but also you're closing off the spell here. Because as you can see, it's open, right? Imagine this being the X. When you come around, you're touching it, you're closing it. But it's a little bit more than that. But anyways, I hope I went over it. Just look at my spell closely and try to mimic it as much as you can. Another thing I saw someone doing was that they weren't striking below middle. You can get away with it, like I'll go really high here. You can. I find issues with it. So I find that basically striking below, like, let's pull out the book real quick, and let's be like, oh, it's like in my chest now, because I moved it. Look, this is the, if I took this and I like cut it in half, it's below center. Okay, so you need to go below center when you, because this is forming that border. And similarly, this top part forms the circle here. And again, also think about the shape of this envelope it's like inside, right? You need all of that space. Like, this is not only the circle, it's the whole exterior. And when you overlap, you're creating this outer shell of the envelope, as well as the like the spacing inside. So it sees it as both the envelope and the circle. This, I mean, I'm pulling this a little bit on my ass, but like in general, this is how I feel about it. This is kind of what I've gathered. So, you know, that's just the best I can give you, right? This is just, from everything I've looked at, this is kind of the best I can figure out. And another great example, actually, these are right next to each other, perfect. Look how thin and tall, I know that they're the same height, ignore that for a moment, just in the book, but look how like thin Fireball actually is in the book, even though these are, you know, these are actually bad representations of Fireball. These bad representations of the spells in general, because they're a little bit different than the book and the monuments. But look how wide this spell is in comparison. It's like twice as wide, right? Twice as wide. And shorter for just various reasons. Just keep it like that. Let's go with that. I will, you know what, let me go ahead and give this a whirl. Can I, hold on, I'm too close to the wall. Alright. Yeah, I don't know. But then if I make it shorter on purpose, yeah. It's just not, this is not an accurate representation of Affliction. And there honestly could be more reasons than I can guess as to why it likes to be a little bit shorter. I couldn't tell you. I can only tell you through experimentation as to why that works. Okay, so hopefully this helps. Wider, shorter. I mean, look at this. I mean, you can even do this. Let me try doing one. I think I have to make, when you do that, I think I have to make the, is the shell inside, or is it, yeah, you have to go inside. Anyway, I don't recommend doing that. Again, I don't recommend it. It's kind of a moot point at this point, unless you're interested in kind of like what shortcuts work and why. Just but below center. And you can even do this, okay? You don't even have to go, hold on, let me make it the right size. I think I have to do this if I do that. Oops, lag spike. Okay, well, I don't recommend that either, to be honest. For going on the inside, you should at least go all the way, or you should go at least like about that far, like that much gap. I can't tell you which one is actually better. And honestly, when you're speed casting, it's hard to be that precise anyways. You want a spell that's sloppier, so having that much like space to work with, it's like, oh no, I went all the way, or I stopped early, it doesn't really matter. Just try to get near it, and you'll be good. So anyways, hope this is informational. This is probably a little bit better tutorial than the last video. It's gonna be pretty long at this point. 20 something minutes, jeez. Okay, well, good luck.